Paul, let me ask you. It must be fascinating to be running a power company today. Suddenly, power's cool. Everybody's inviting you to attend seminars, explain what you're doing, want to hear where you're going in terms of alternative. Bring us a little just into your world. How different is your life today as a CEO than from just 2 years ago? Before I ask you that, I'll tip you off on my column for tomorrow. Okay. Don't tell anybody, okay, outside this room. But I'm actually going to start my column tomorrow with a quote. And the quote is, Mr. President, how would you rate yourself as an environmental president? And what have you contributed to cleaning water and air in America? And I'm saying this is a quiz. Who can tell me who asked that question and what was its significance? Well, you'll never get it. The person who asked that question was a man named James Hubb. And its significance is that he asked it at the presidential debate at Washington University between John Kerry and George Bush. And it was the only question asked in all the presidential debates about energy and environment. Now, fast forward to the next election, can you imagine how many questions will be on that issue? So in that context, what's new in your life?
Okay. Well, it's interesting. Dr. Shu doesn't know this, and just listening to him, you don't realize what the connections are in our industry, but he could not be here today if it weren't for AES. Huh. Because it was back in...
Tell people just a little about AES, just 30 seconds.
AES, we're a global power company. We're a company that generates electricity and distributes electricity. We're truly global in that we're in 26 countries around the world. Probably about 40% of our business is in the United States. And in terms of what kinds of electricity we produce, it's really the whole gamut of types of electricity, or using fuels, different fuels, excluding nuclear. We're in hydro, gas, oil. We've recently gotten very active in renewables because we see it's not only a big need for our society, but it's also, we think, a great growth industry, a great opportunity. But we're in the wind business. We're in creating global offsets. We're now recently getting into biofuels. So we're really getting involved in a number of different renewable energy type sources. With respect to China, when we started out our business in China in 1994, we didn't have anything. And there was a strong desire, part of the Chinese government, to get more investment into the power sector. Back then, I think they only had 200,000 megawatts. Today, I think it's 550,000 megawatts. But one of the places that wanted us to go there and build a power plant to attract industry was Wuxi. And Wuxi is where Suntech is located. But I remember we met with the officials in Wuxi. They said, we need to get power here so we can attract the industry to come and invest in our town. So we invested in a power plant there, actually built a power plant. So to some extent, we have a linkage that we didn't even realize before.
Interesting. And go back to the question, though. How has your life changed now as an executive of a major energy provider? What are the opportunities being thrown at you? Where are you being asked to speak? What are the debates you find yourself in? How much does your own life reflect this whole changing debate in America around energy?
Well, I think what's changed is the realization that energy is critically important from just an energy security standpoint, a national security standpoint. We're seeing that in many countries. How do we make sure that we've got reliable sources of electricity? The second piece of it is, I think, just the increased awareness of the environment. I think it's something when you're part of a power company, you realize the impacts that power plants can have in the environment, the things you need to do to mitigate the impacts of power plants. I think what's changed is now the realization amongst everybody that something needs to be done, that we need to take more advanced measures to control the pollutants. And probably the biggest change, I'd say, here in the United States over the past, say, 6 to 9 months has been the recognition that global warming really is a significant problem that has to be tackled. And that is a big shift, I think, in terms of the populace here in the United States saying this is a big problem. I think that's beginning to shift in other countries. We do a lot of work in India and China. I'm beginning to sense that that's now become an issue on the table for people in China. Is what are we going to do about it? What are the impacts to us? How do we deal with that?
Dr. Xu, one way we deal with that is we get alternative energy, something you and I have talked about,
sure,
down to what my friend Vinod Khosla likes to call the Chindia price, the price that it will scale in China and India.
yeah,
You know, whether we're talking about biofuels, solar, or wind. How far, talk a little bit about how much business you do inside China and outside China in Suntech, and what would it take for you to really be able to grow your business inside China?
yeah. Okay, you're absolutely right. I think the reason solar industry, I mean, this industry has been around for nearly half a century, but it did not take off until recently. People consider it's too expensive.
Yes.
So I think Suntech really outgrows mainly is from business outside of China, thanks to German government, Spanish, U.S. and many Western governments.
What's your biggest market?
Our biggest market is still in Europe.
Still in Europe.
Yeah, Germany.
Which country? Germany.
Yeah, Germany, and percentage has been reduced with time. So now U.S. market has been, say, last year was only 3%, but this year we aim at 15% of our production.
Interesting.
So I think you look at China is only maybe 10% or around 10%.
So 90% abroad, 10% inside China.
Exactly. I think it's not surprise because in Western country average income per capita
Sure.
is higher and people can afford. And apart from that, another important issue is general public are very well educated. So when you're talking about energy security, environment issues,
Get it right
they
away.
can get it very quickly. Mm-hmm. But in China, apart from this economic thing, there's people, they don't get it. They still work very hard, try to make more pennies and make their life better, but which is, again, is understandable.
Sure.
So, but we believe, definitely, solar will reach grid parity in less than 10 years. I'm truly believe that.
Interesting.
Because that's why my personal, my work focus has been changed. Like a couple of years ago, I have to, traveling all the time to find for customers, market. But now we don't need to worry about market. Because demand just huge. But what we focus on really is how can we reduce the manufacturing cost as quickly as possible. That's one issue. Second issue, how can we really, maybe innovate our manufacturing process in a scale is big, huge scale. Right. It's not like 100 megawatt, whatever. It's multi-gigawatts.
Interesting.
How can we, reach that level to really satisfy the market demand if it happens maybe in a couple of years' time?
Do you have governors around China calling you saying, we want Suntech here, we want Suntech here? What kind of demand are you under inside China right now?
Everywhere, almost. They always say, Dr. Xi, could you open a factory in our province, in this city? Everywhere. But they see that is as manufacturing is a booster to the local economy.
Yes.
But not necessarily, okay, I mean, we invite you here, we are interested in green.
Right.
But I think it takes time. I think the first step is good. Especially there are so many solar companies in our province.
Right.
But now the governor of Jiangsu province, they consider solar could be a basic industry in this province.
Interesting.
So that also help to awaken their knowledge about the industry and how to maybe initiate some subsidy to promote this industry in China.
Interesting.
And I totally agree with you. This industry, the market started with Europe. I think next, American will become probably, if not largest, will be one of the largest market. And give another, say, 5 years time when this price, come down to the level which can be acceptable, acceptable in China or India.
Yes.
So the market will grow very quickly over there.